And again, as part of the class that we're doing here, you students here are welcome to call us to take a proctored practice test. There's a $100 fee that is waived for students from this school. Right? So feel free to take advantage of that. If you do, you get a very cool, sophisticated online report. It of course shows your scores, and it shows which test is better for you. There's a percentile ranking tool that lets you interact with this. Move the slider, you'll see what the percentiles are. It breaks it down certainly by type of question and content area, so you can see what your weaknesses are. And last but not least, this is really cool. I'm biased, but this is unique. What we show you on the score report, for every problem on the test that you got right or wrong, we show you data on how you did compared to other students with the exact same score as you. So if you get a question wrong, it reveals to you, for example, was that mistake typical of students at your level, or was that out of character? Was that one that most students at your level are supposed to get right? Why is that useful? Lets you quickly see, here's where I'm losing points that I should not be, that I should be able to get right. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of the report. Okay, so expect to get this from your practice test. Okay? Timeline for preparation. Okay, first of all, from the end of 10th grade, all the way through year 1 into the fall of year 2, here are theoretically all of the tests you could take. My goodness, don't do that. Okay? These are options. Okay? You want to try to do this efficiently. 2 ways you can do it efficiently. Number 1, accept that for most students, the window of time when you're most developmentally ready to do your best is the second half of year 1 through the fall of year 2. The data tell us that's when most students peak. So if you start really early, you're trying to override nature. It's just the reality that most students don't do their best until they've had most of year 1 math and all of that verbal development working for them. And quite honestly, you're just older. You know, when you're 17, probably late in year 1, you're just tougher, more sophisticated as a test taker, and that works for you. Okay? So don't try to do too much too soon to have a student peak before it's realistic. Okay? The only exception to what I just said are kids who are so high scoring that for them it doesn't matter. And that would be like national merit level scores on the PSAT, near perfect scores. If that's you, great, test whenever you want. Okay? So here are 3 scenarios. What I've just been describing is the most common and recommended approach. So first, maybe think about pieces of the calendar that are determined for you. So for example, So here's the window. Let's start with some pieces. First, you'd want to think about not SAT and ACT, but picking one or the other. So don't take both of them over and over. That's not a good use of time. Let's say you chose the SAT. So now we've shrunk the window of time you deal with the test, and we've picked one or the other. Then first, think about, as you look at a calendar, what is chosen for me? So APs, not a thing. Okay. If you had to deal with those, that's when they would be. Okay. Other parts. Think about when you finally want to be done. So let's say I don't want to be taking the SAT past October of year 2. So that's a backstop. That's what I'll fall back to if I need it. Okay? No later than that. Later than that starts to really butt up against deadlines. It can be tough. Then think about other pieces. So you've got the PSAT October of year 1. You might take a subject test at the end of sophomore year. That's pretty unusual. More likely, if you take subject tests at all, they'd be the end of year 1. Okay? And then finally, fill in your first SAT. And for many good reasons, most students, the first SAT, March of 11th grade, is a good time. It's a smart hedge. You're letting a lot of just development work for you, but you're still leaving lots of time to retest. There's more test dates in May, June, August, even October. So lots of time to retest should you need it. Okay? I call this approach the traditional testing timeline. It's what's most appropriate for most students. What I see too much of are people jumping on the early testing timeline. And this is testing creeping into 10th grade, testing dominating the summer before year 1, and that is not really necessary for most students. Okay? Be a kid. Summer before year 1, you've got an intense academic year coming. Sure, do some things that are academically enriching, would be helpful in a college application, but don't do just tons of testing and test prep that summer. It's not necessary and it's not efficient. You know, you haven't had yet all that you're going to learn in year 1, so it's a little bit premature for most students. Okay? Sure, ease into something, practice if you want, but don't overdo it too early. Okay? These students on this plan are absolutely focused on being done with testing by the end of year 1. Hey, that's great if you can do it. But a lot of students, the data tell us, need the fall testing of year 2 before they peak. So again, I'm really not a fan of starting too early. If you start early, here's all I know for sure. You'll probably test longer. It's great for tutoring companies. Okay? Don't help them. Okay? Think again about efficiency as being your goal. I almost never see this plan anymore, deferred testing. But in the rare occasion when I see it done for the right reason, it works great. So here's the rationale for this case. This is a student who's saying, I cannot let testing bog me down too much year 1. I need to work hard on my classes, and I'm just not ready yet. Okay, it's a parent saying this. I have a daughter and sons. Boys develop a little later, academically, so it's more often boys on this plan, and it works well for them. What they are saying is, I will push most of my preparation for this test to the summer before year 2. And I don't expect it all to peak until the fall of year 2. I just know that I won't. So that lightens the load for them considerably in year 1. They do better academically, and that's going to be a really smart plan. So the point is, you got to know yourself, you know your son or daughter. There's no single calendar that works best for every student, but these are some pros and cons to be thinking about as you try to come up with an ideal calendar. Okay? Last few points, and quickly, I'm going to take some questions. Here are the ways that we can help. So on the left, the first 4 things are completely free. We are happy to administer practice tests and talk to you about what they mean, give you advice. That's very, very, very level and helpful. There's a class here for the March 27th SAT. It starts the first week of February. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays after school from 3:30 to 5. And there's no class that 3rd week of February, I think, when there's no school. So Lenny has the details. There's a web page that has those details, which I should have had on screen. But if that is of interest to you, talk to Lenny soon or contact us through that website and get signed up. And talk to Lenny if you need financial support to make that class affordable for you. I highly recommend that you do that. We have 2 outstanding instructors lined up to teach that, and it builds on some of the things you heard today.
What days a week?
Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 5, starting the first week of February. And then it's continuous through the March 27th SAT, except for the 3rd week of February, there's no school. Okay? The practice tests as part of that, here's what I'll say. I know some of you are planning on taking the class. Okay? The practice tests are not here at school. You schedule those on your own, ideally in our office in Midtown. Okay? So make sure you think about when you do the practice tests. I'm going to leave you with this reality. Okay? Here is the college admissions world in terms of selectivity. So this is enrollment by admission rate. Okay? The blue slice of the pie, 80% of colleges in this country, 80% admit more than half of their applicants. The vast majority of colleges need students. They're recruiting you. Okay? You can hardly see the 1%, the little tiny purple slice, that the colleges that admit less than 10% of their applicants. That's about 24 colleges out of 4,000 or so. Okay? Now, if I named them, you've heard of them. They're great places. I'm not trying to suggest otherwise. However, again, it's just not right to think that that's all there is and anything else in that is inferior. I don't know any of you personally, but I can say this with confidence. There are far, far more colleges out there where any student from this school could apply, be admitted, find a way to afford it, go and have a great education, maybe meet your lifelong friends like I did, be set up for the next phase of your life, whether that's career or more school, way, way, way more of those colleges. Great fits for you. Then there are colleges who you think you'd like to attend but who won't take you. That's just the math. So if you start with a deep breath, okay, that's the world. What's left in front of you is still at times complex, intimidating, a lot to figure out and sort through. But to me, it can be empowering if you let it be. And what I see this all the time, for families, it's one of the last things you get to do as a family, parents and kid, that together. It's really interesting and challenging, this big, big puzzle. Right? So that to me is the right, healthy mentality. Okay? I love this statistic. Nationally, the admission rate is 70% of all applications. The answer is yes. College says yes, please attend. Okay? Yield is this critical statistic if you work in college admissions on the other side of the desk. Yield is, if I work at a college, yield is the percentage of students we offer admission to who say yes back to us. If yield nationally is 33%, that means 2/3 of the time the student says no thanks, rejects college. So big picture, you're in the catbird seat is the expression. Okay? You just have to think about the world broadly. Unless you don't believe me, one final dig at Stanford. Stanford, they proudly deny 96% of their applicants, okay? And they get in their applicant pool every year hundreds of students with perfect scores, 36s, 1600s. And they deny the vast majority of those as well, okay? These scores matter, give them their due, but at a certain point, there's just a much more productive use of your time. It's about finding that balance as a family, okay? My all-time favorite cartoon is this poor guy. He's at the pearly gates. And he's dismayed to find that his scores still matter. Okay? All right. You're laughing a little bit more than you did an hour ago on the tombstone, so I'll take that. Okay? I would like to stick around, and I will answer all questions, and I'll repeat them through the mic for those who want to hear others' questions. Lenny, for those who have had enough testing for one evening, are they welcome to go?
Yes.